Hi, and welcome to Something to Talk About. I'm Linda McNamee, and for the next hour, as you saw from our introduction, we're going to learn all about Sons of Italy and probably throw in a little of just Italy at the same time. But I do also want to recognize tonight's episode as the 10th anniversary of Something to Talk About. Our first episode, thank you. Our first episode was the second Wednesday of January, 2013. So thank you everyone for giving us this opportunity to come into your home for the past 10 years. And I would also like to thank my predecessor, Arlene DeRocco, for showing me the ropes. So thank you. Before we get into tonight's topic, I would like to invite you to email me at any time at talk@bcattv.org if you have a suggestion for a future topic or just questions that you might think of after the fact. It's always there for you. We are live this evening, so if you want to give us a call and speak to one of our wonderful guests, whom you will meet momentarily, you can always give us a call at 781-270-9199. As always, I would like to thank the crew for this evening. We have Chris Flaherty and John Villas, who are staff members here. John is taking off, but Chris is keeping us going for the next hour. So thank you, Chris. We have our wonderful volunteers again, Evan Peckham, Evan McNamee, and Noel Donahue, as well as our special guest crew, Gwyneth McNamee. So that means there is no daddy date night tonight. So daddy's on his own because the kids are here with me, and I'm very excited to have them. And now the moment that most of you have been waiting for, my wonderful guests for this evening. We have Don McGowan and Pat Marino, who are the president and vice president of the Burlington chapter of the Sons of Italy. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for the introduction.
And Happy New Year.
And happy 10th program. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
We have a cake for afterwards.
10 d'anno, they say in Italian. I hope you have another 100.
Well, this is 10 years, so maybe. I'm not sure I want to go 100 years. But maybe another 10 would be okay. So, thank you. I like to always begin by getting to know my guests a little bit better and allowing my audience to get to know the guests. So can you guys, you get to fight amongst yourselves who goes first, but okay. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, how you came to the, where you grew up, how you came to the Burlington, moved to the Burlington area. And then we'll start talking about.
Okay, well, to begin with, I grew up in Somerville.
Okay, that's not too far from here.
Yeah, and graduated from Somerville High School. Actually, I joined the Navy when I was 17.
Excellent. Thank you for your service.
Yes. I don't even know where to begin. I never give it a thought. It's just it was so long ago, and suddenly I'm here. So
well, I'm glad you are.
Yeah. Along about 1961, I met my wife. She was Italian from Somerville.
Okay.
The only Italian girl I ever dated, by the way. It's just ironic that growing up we usually date lots of people. Mm-hmm. It was not by design, just by circumstance. So. And we got married in '62 and went house hunting, and we discovered one in Burlington. We settled down, and here we are.
I love it.
Now, as to Sons of Italy, by the way, my work career, I worked for IBM. I was a systems engineer for IBM for 35 years.
Oh, excellent.
And when I left IBM, I left because they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. It was 1990, if you remember that era.
Yep. That's about the same time my dad retired.
Yeah.
Because they made him an offer that he couldn't refuse.
One day my manager came to me and said, Don, I'm going to offer you a year's pay if you just go home.
Let me think about that. Bye.
I said, I'm not sure. He said, well, I won't guarantee that you have a job if you stay, but you don't have to go. I said, forget it, I'll take the money and run.
Good choice.
Anyway, that was my work career. And after that, I worked for another company a few years out of Chicago, and then I went incorporated and became an IBM business partner.
Ooh, okay.
But moving to Burlington, my wife was involved at the Sons of Italy. She had a friend who convinced her to be the treasurer.
Oh, okay.
So they were on a membership drive one year, and she said to me, you will join the Sons of Italy. I said, but I'm not Italian. She said, you don't have to be Italian as long as you're married to one. I said, oh, lucky me. That next year, her friend who talked her into joining in the first place convinced me that I would be president. It really wasn't.
Okay, so is a non-Italian allowed to be president?
I guess I was the first under the tutelage of the Grand Lodge.
Oh,
He is an Italian. He was an Italian with. I mean, he was an Irishman with an Italian heart.
That's what Pat always called me.
okay.
And an Italian appetite.
Okay. Did you talk with your hands a lot?
I learned some
Or
of
did
the
you have to
things,
learn
yes.
how to do that?
I know a lot of those gestures.
Okay, this is a family show.
Yes, sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Your shot, Pat.
Oh yeah.
Your turn.
Yeah, Don was the president for a good long while, and I was the vice president. I came to Burlington. My wife and I we were introduced to Burlington by a cousin. This is going back to 1963.
Oh, wow.
And we decided to stay. We liked it. My mother always thought of it as the frontier at that time because.
Now, where did you grow up?
Malden, Massachusetts.
Malden, okay.
Yeah. And at any rate, we decided to build a home here. I was teaching at Winchester High School, teaching Italian and French.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
I had just graduated I did some advanced work at Boston University, and I met Mr. Howard Niblock, who happened to be the principal. He invited me. I spent 2 years at Winchester High School, 2 delightful years. I had an agreement with my brother-in-law with regard to the business that I opened, Marino's, in Burlington. It didn't quite work out. He had some personal problems. And so I had to decide on whether to stay in school, which is what I wanted to do at the time, or take over the business because I had put every penny I had into it. So I did, and I ended up staying there at Burlington, just Marinos of Burlington, and I was there for 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we grew enormously. It got
Excellent.
to the point where I had a pizza shop, I had a sandwich shop, I had 3 in-plant cafeterias. We were doing an enormous amount of catering to include
wow.
sit-down dinners. It grew, it overgrew
18
me.
years,
I
yeah.
didn't.
Oh, that's
There were
great.
days when I didn't. At any rate, I decided to sell it and go back into teaching.
Oh, okay.
And the first job, the first telephone call that I made was to Stoneham. And I assumed they had answered, and I'm talking to someone on the phone. And after he invited me and we talked about everything, if I still had my certification. And I said, okay, where do I go in Stoneham? And he said, Stoneham? No, we're in, oh my God, help me.
I think you said Plymouth.
We're in,
Was it Plymouth?
no, way out on the, oh Lord help me, I'm getting, at any rate, it was
not Stoneham.
It was about 70 mile, Plymouth.
Plymouth, okay.
Plymouth, where the Indians and the
Yeah.
natives land. Yes, Plymouth, and I stayed there for 5 or 6 years, traveling
You
back and
commuted to
forth.
Plymouth
almost
from
yeah,
here? Wow.
about 80 miles, 70, 80
Yeah.
miles back and forth. I did that, and I can tell you about some horrendous days in the winter.
Yeah, no, we're not going to talk about traffic on,
At any rate, I stayed
128.
there. Carver was a small town. They separated from Plymouth. They asked me to go to Carver, which was another 5 miles. I
wow.
did. I became the department head, and I stayed there for about, I think it was 9 or 10 years altogether. Had a wonderful experience. And finally got a job at Everett High School.
much better commute.
And this is the part that really, when I finished with Everett and I retired, the very day or the next day, the principal here at Burlington High School called me and asked me if I still had my certification. Could I? And I said, why didn't you call me 20 years ago?
Oh, no, because they didn't have an
All
opening
that
then.
traveling. Yeah. At any rate, I've had a wonderful career and a wonderful life, and I love Burlington dearly in every respect. I mean, and my wife is the same way, and we've been here now for 60 odd years.
Wow.
Soon we'll be celebrating 60 years.
Excellent. Well, congratulations.
yeah.
That's quite an accomplishment. So, wait, so what exactly is the mission, or what does Sons of Italy incorporate, or encompass?
What it's supposed to be, and which our lodge tried very hard to be, and it was probably the only lodge in the state that stuck to it. The mission is that of the preservation and promotion of the Italian language.
Okay.
We have lodges all over the state, but too many of them are there to be social clubs and all that.
Yeah, I was looking at some of their
But
websites.
welfare
Yeah,
also.
Yes.
I mean, how much have we done to help other people?
Well, the original mission was language.
and
so,
when I took
'cause
over
we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, when I took over as president, well, that was 20 years ago. He was 18 years ago. I picked him up right. Anyway, without Pat, I don't know we would have been successful because I ran into Pat. We were running a dinner dance, and he and his wife were there. We started talking afterwards. I said, "Why don't you join the lodge?" And he did. And the rest is history. He was my right-hand man all these years.
Excellent.
I was always referring
And
to
he's
Pat
still
as
your
my
right-hand
MVP.
man.
Yes, I'm still here.
And
That's
pick
why
the
you're on
right seats.
Anyway, whenever something needed to be done, I would dream up what we needed to do, and Pat would go and do the work.
Perfect partnership.
Perfect, yes. He'll talk about that, what he did at the parade and all that stuff, making floats. But
Okay.
anyway, when I decided that's what our mission would be. And it just bothered me that when I went to convention, they were complaining about lack of membership, and I kept telling them on the floor, you haven't decided what you are. Some of the people don't know whether they're here for clubs, fun, or what. And I said, why don't you declare yourself cultural?
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good, but it won't work. Never mind. So we stuck by that.
Oh, that won't work.
And Pat was our culture chairman, too.
Okay.
And ironically, it was that Grand Lodge that saw what Pat was doing in our lodge and stole him away for. How long were you in the employ of the Grand Lodge? Making
I think it was for 3 years, 3 or 4
they
years.
had him
yeah.
traveling around to different lodges.
Okay.
I was the culture chairman.
Yes. So anyway, that's what our mission was. Yes, we did
Okay.
have club-like things, activities and do dinner dances, but our main mission was always out of culture.
Okay.
In our website, which, if you ever saw it, there was an awful lot of it there.
Okay. And then, from the language, you branched off into culture, and you did all these, We had talked earlier about how Pat ended up getting you guys involved in community events. Can you tell me how that kind of happened?
Oh Lord, so many.
I know.
We tried very hard to get involved with the community as much as we possibly could in so
Okay.
many different ways. Christmas time, we put truckloads of goods together for needy families in Burlington, literally.
Yeah.
We participated in almost every 4th of July parade, and I have at home, I think it's 4 or 5 first place prizes for.
Wow.
We built floats. We
Okay.
built huge floats.
I'm going to hire you for the Something to Talk About float next year.
Yeah.
Or this year.
Yeah, no, really. They were good. They were replicas of an Italian restaurant or
okay.
something to do
With
the
real
culture.
Italian food for
Yes,
the people.
yeah,
Ooh.
actually, yeah, we had painted ovens, and we actually had live pizza dough that we
Oh,
made
wow.
pizza. Anyway, it was a big success. There were just so many different things that we did, and we had a social agenda. A busload of us would go to some club or go to show of some kind.
Dinner theater, stuff like that.
The what?
The dinner theater. Like
Yeah,
up in
the
Acton,
dinner
Okay,
theaters.
so you
and-
did incorporate the social aspect
yeah.
eventually, but
Yeah.
Oh, we had good times too.
And at one time, and I think this is indicative, at one time, and I have the list, the original list, we had close to 200 members, or slightly over 200 members.
just for the Burlington
Yeah,
chapter?
just
Wow.
for our lodge. By the way, we have been, I don't know if you mentioned, we're 52 years old.
That's great.
Yeah,
Wow.
52 years that we've been here in Burlington, and most of the membership has been people from Burlington. I think that if I were to read the list of names, you would recognize especially selectmen.
Oh, okay.
Most of the selectmen of Italian extraction were members.
Oh, cool.
And I when I had my business here in Burlington, I participated in the selectmen or the people that I knew. So many of the people that were members used to come into my shop, and it was just a great experience. The whole thing was just a wonderful experience.
Okay.
I'm sad that we have grown old.
You know. For the sake of
Well, you know, it happens.
yes, oh, it does, yeah. For the sake of full disclosure, we never had 200 members while I was president. The old group kind of fell apart,
Okay.
and when I took over, there's only a dozen or so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was dead. And what I did is I contacted the members who haven't been showing up and asked them to please give it a shot. And they little by little started coming back. So we, at one time, were over 100.
Excellent.
So we worked our way back.
Great.
But atrophy, death, a lot of people, anyway, it just shrunk over the years.
Yeah, it's hard to bring new.
Yeah, and young people don't want to join organizations like this.
Well, I think they just have so much competition for their time
Maybe,
that, you know,
absolutely.
there's so many opportunities available now that it's hard to choose.
Yeah, I think times have changed too. It seems to me that the emphasis is not on the individual ethnic groups, it's more on having come together. You know, it's
Okay.
more of Americana. There are other problems, there are probably
there will always be
always will
problems.
be, but it seems like it's more Americana.
Okay.
In so many different ways, and because the clubs that were in existence, the Irish American, the Italian American, the Polish American, they're disappearing also. You know, and so times have changed,
Yeah.
and but we had some wonderful times.
Before we get off this topic, there was one time, well, first of all, we had ongoing membership drives every year. We'd
Oh, okay.
do that. So one year, I think it was Pat's idea that we have an open house at the rec center.
Okay.
That was your idea, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So what we did was he put a sign up, come on in, Italian food. We had Italian food, all the stations around the floor, even
okay.
tables set up to look up the ancestry. It was a wonderful time. We had about, I don't know, maybe 200 people there. We had music, wine, plenty of food. Oh my God, the place
Well, it's
was packed.
Italian. You have to have
And
food.
people were dancing.
Yes, I'm
before it was
stereotyping.
over.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, people were dancing, and it was a wonderful time.
Excellent.
We thought, whoa, this is great. We're going to get a lot of members out of this. Guess how many we got?
None.
None.
Oh, no.
Everybody came for the free food, the free drink, and the free music. That was frustrating, wasn't it?
yeah. It was a good time though.
It was.
You know,
I'd
we
do
were
it
both,
again.
we were both, everyone worn out and tired, but I think we all had a good time. It was good to see people.
Right.
It was good
okay.
to interact with them. It was just good even though we didn't increase the membership. It was still a good time.
We've had breakfast after Mass at St. Margaret's.
Oh, okay.
We come and get scrambled eggs and whatever. Never got
Oh.
never got anybody out of that one either.
They
Now-
came for the good time.
Yeah, people came for the good time and the free food.
Of course. Well, hey, free food, motivation. Now, in addition to the social aspect, we did talk about the culture being your primary focus. And I remember back when you were on Arlene's show, you talked a lot about the language classes and learning how to speak Italian. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And how did you get students? Did you bribe them with food?
Since I ran the language program, I can handle that one.
Okay.
How we got the students, a lot of them were inherited. We always had a program, but it really wasn't full-blown or well-organized.
Okay.
So I got it organized so we have 6 different levels of Italian.
Wow.
2 at the
Okay.
beginning, 2 intermediate, and 2 advanced.
Okay.
And the beginner, number 1, is very, very beginner. The red, blue, his hand, face, all that. And
Counting to 10.
The 6th level, we went to beginner to intermediate to advanced. And the 6th level was the 2 advanced. And Pat used to teach that for me.
Well, he had 20 years of experience down on the
Absolutely.
Cape.
And in advanced too, very little English was ever spoken.
Oh,
That's
wow.
how
Okay.
well it has progressed.
Okay.
And Pat used to like to show off because when I had to go up there to tell him something, he'd start mouthing off in Italian and they'd all start laughing. And I wondered,
And you're like, what?
I know he's talking about me. But But anyway, that was our class, and we used to get at least 60 people per
That's
semester,
amazing.
and did two semesters a year.
Okay.
And Pat and I went over to the Italian consulate a couple times to promote our program, and they finally agreed that we've had the best Italian language program in the whole area.
Wow.
And it was only like $150 a year, something like that.
That's impressive.
And I had the consul general and the person in charge of language all lined up to come and sit in the evening in our classes. And that was the night I canceled the classes because of COVID.
Oh,
and
no.
From that point, we lost everything.
Oh,
The
no.
lodge went downhill, classes went downhill. That was such a real tragedy, Pat.
How much were we charging? Oh, it
Oh, I
wasn't.
don't
It
know.
wasn't
It
very
was,
much. It
you
was
know,
$100
A
or
little bit more than that, maybe
it was a
125.
little bit more than that. It was well worth it. We had professional instructors.
Yes.
And
Well,
we
you had you.
We had.
right.
I was. Yes, I was one of them, and we had students who came from. It was really at one time I can remember going over the list, and we had, like you say, I think it was 100 students or close to that.
Wow.
Most of them were from the towns around.
Okay.
And there were a few from Burlington, not that many. As a matter of fact, even now today, I occasionally run into someone here in Burlington. Do you remember that I was your student? You know?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And it's
Now, do they
it's a
say
good
that?
feeling,
Do they
yeah.
ask that in Italian?
But
Yeah.
it was a wonderful experience.
Oh.
And what's amazing, not all our students came from Burlington or Wilmington or Woburn. We had some come from Newburyport, some come
Yeah.
from down
Wow.
Plymouth.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
went down to
yeah. It grew.
Ashland, and yeah.
Yeah, it really grew. It seemed to catch on. It was really. It was an experience that I couldn't have anticipated.
Where we got our students was from word of mouth, number one, and secondly, we advertised in all the church bulletins around.
And they
Oh,
followed. You know, they may have come in. They didn't know any Italian. They would take the first level and the second. And how many
going.
students at the advanced level? And as a matter of fact, it's just recently. I don't know if I told you. I've had people contact us and say, from the advanced group,
Are you
some of
doing
the people that I personally know,
Wow.
and are you going to do it again this year? Are you going to start? And they're
Wow. It's like,
I took
sorry.
a poll of past students several months ago, and I had about 20 people say, all excited, oh, God, I can't wait. But that's all. I never got many more than that. Things change, people
yeah.
change, priorities change.
Sorry.
It was sad.
Now, with all of this language and culture, did you ever like travel to Italy, or did you just
Yes.
kind of?
I
Oh,
have-
tell me about that.
I have.
have-
I've-
I have
I've
Tell
been
me
to-
about that.
I've been to Italy. My wife and I have been to. My wife and I have been. Just traveled the whole world. But Italy has been very special. We've been there. God, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 times. Twice in Sicily. The first trip I ever made was when I was in the service and I was located in Germany. I wanted to see my roots, and I drove to the little town in Italy where my parents, my mother was born, and my father was in the next town right over.
wow.
And it was just a one-road town. My grandfather and my grandmother and cousins who are now here in America were just little shrimps at the
wow.
time. And it was one of the most exciting days I've ever had to be able to go there and speak the language with them. And they were just wonderful.
I've been there 3 times. First time was courtesy of the U.S. Navy.
Hey,
But the second and third time was with my wife, and we had a great time. And she always laments the fact that she wanted to go to visit her parents' place in Avellino.
okay.
And one time we were driving down some highway, and the sign says Avellino. She said, "Oh my God!" Anyway, we had vowed to go back so she could go to her birthplace. And then she fell and broke her hip.
Oh
and
no.
That kind of travel was out of the picture from now on.
Yeah.
I never. Avellino was exactly the same province where my folks are from.
There's an awful lot of people in this country come from Avellino. That must be a very poor province because really, seriously. I mean, more damn people from Avellino.
Yeah.
So Pat, did your parents emigrate here, or
Both my
Before or
parents were born
after?
in Italy. They
Right,
were
well, you
born in
said
the
that.
same province that
Right.
we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
2 little towns right next to one another. My mother came here, and she came under the auspices of an aunt who was from Wakefield. She lived here for a while. My father came, and somehow they met, and the stories about the two of them
So they
getting
met over
together,
here?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
You know, those days when
Yeah.
you wanted to go to the movies, you brought your mother or your aunt, and she sat between you.
Yep.
You know. But anyway, you know, they did mate and they married, and I'm originally from Malden, Massachusetts.
Okay, so you were born over here.
Yeah, I was born here. My
Okay.
sister, who lives here in town, also was born here. And I've been here for 60 plus years
Okay.
now in Burlington.
So thinking of, ancestry, and I think you mentioned in one of your events you had like an ancestry table, and then both of you were also talking about finding your roots and finding family over in Italy. Do you have any, genealogy course? Did Sons of Italy ever go into ancestry or genealogy lectures or training or anything in that subject?
No, we never did. That'd be something I never thought of. But at that Sunday dinner, we did have a table set up for people who were interested in their ancestry.
Okay.
And we had a woman sitting at that table who knew all about it. So if you came up and wanted to talk about doing
Okay.
that, she could give you all the instructions.
Wow.
I never did it personally. I've done it my own, but not for the Sons of
Okay.
Italy.
I'm pretty much in the same category, except the other part, or one of the other programs that we ran under the auspices of the Burlington Sons of Italy was to invite professors with a particular expertise in some aspect of the Italian culture. I did this. I had a culture series that I ran at the library here, and
okay.
I'm estimating something like 40 or 50 shows where I had professors from each of the universities, local universities, that would come and they had a particular topic and they would talk about it. We drew crowds of 40, up to 40, 45, 50 people in the
Wow.
library here. I mean,
Wow.
that room, I'm sure you've been there,
Yeah.
is pretty, it was filled. And we got to the point where we would provide coffee and pastry and whatnot, and they would come from all over. And the
Wow.
professors that I
What were some of the
able-
topics that you talked about?
Pardon me?
What were some of the topics?
Oh my God. The first one was, what is the origin of the Italian polenta, which is
polenta.
cornmeal?
Oh, okay, yeah.
And how did it come about? And this professor from Boston University went into detail about how the corn was grown here. It was imported or exported to Italy, how they learned to use it, how they refined it and used it, especially in those days when life was difficult, and how it became so celebrated here in America, especially by the Italian community. But cornmeal, and they use it in so many different ways.
Yeah.
But he went into the detail of it, you know. But there
Wild.
were so many aspects about how to rent in Italy, how the particular provinces came about, the history of every imaginable Italian subject that you can think of.
Wow.
We had experts that would speak on it, and they came from Harvard, from Boston College, from Boston University, some of the other art schools, and that was we did about 40 programs,
Yeah.
40, I think.
Wow.
On
You had
programs.
some of the famous painters and sculptors and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
who came, and local musicians,
Yeah.
local Italian musicians who
Okay.
played, and they would come in and they would play for us, and they would talk about where they were from and their origins, and some of them were born in Italy, and
Okay.
they, and so it was a little bit of everything.
When we kicked off that program, we were talking about, before you came in, it was about polenta.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, nice going, Pat. We're going to try to sell a program about people talking about polenta. I'm thinking to myself, and I got to sit through this now for a whole hour. And as soon as the guy gets started, and suddenly it was very intriguing. It was fascinating.
Oh, cool.
Something you don't think would be that.
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah. Anyway, that was great.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot
So
of
there were-
great topics.
Yeah, there were so many things that came up. When I think of the Christmas programs that we did for the kids and for families, needy families in Burlington, we went through the church. Or we had someone in the club who suggested someone,
Okay.
and we would. It was just an enormous program. After a while, we were involved in something constantly for the past what is it, 30, 40 years now.
Well, you're saying
52
52.
years.
52 years, yeah.
So I have another question about having been around 52 years. Now, email and the internet was not popular 52 years ago.
No.
That's right.
You know, maybe the last 30-ish. But in those first 20 years, how did you communicate and find all of these resources?
Word of mouth, having seminars, free seminars, having
Okay.
ads in the paper.
I was fortunate in that I had the business here in town.
Okay.
It was, maybe you know, I'm not sure. It was originally a sandwich shop.
Okay.
My family was very involved in the submarine sandwiches. And so I, with my brother-in-law, opened one here, and it went over extremely well. But he had a problem. He had to leave. I left Winchester High School. I took over, and it grew.
Okay.
It grew to the point where I had a section where we were selling plastic and paper products, which were brand new on the market at that time.
Okay.
We used to make food trays, and there weren't any trays available when we
Okay.
started. We used to use, I don't know if you remember the pepper baskets. They used to have these wooden covers on the top,
Okay.
and that's how they, it had little arms and it
Oh,
would lock.
okay, yeah.
We took those. I got as many as I could. My sister used to foil them in colored foil.
Oh,
And
okay.
put a pineapple or melon or whatnot in the center and arrange all of the meats, and we would sell them. They became extremely popular.
Wow.
Yeah. That was one part of it, and then I opened a pizza shop right next door, and then I went to, and I started catering. Anyway, it got
So
very
it's
involved.
word of
The
mouth?
point being that
Okay.
the Italian community was extremely supportive, and there were so many people that were just so wonderful that I remember, and I hired a lot of the young people.
Okay.
And I was 30 years selling to the Italian community.
The Italian community
memories.
is one of the things that frustrates me when we're having membership drives with all the thousands of Italians in this town and all the opportunities to get with your fellow countrymen and do good for the town. I could never seem to say the right words that they wanted to say, I want to join.
Yeah.
People didn't want to make commitments, and that's the life has
People
changed.
still don't want to.
Yeah, but Don, look, this was 1 year. Look at how many members.
I know.
Oh, wow.
And what happened after
It's like
that?
6-point
it's
font
not-
or something.
It's not every year, but
Yep. Oh,
we
I
did have
understand.
some success.
Yeah, we did. I was just disappointed it wasn't more. That's all.
Yeah, no, I agree. It probably should have been. It was hard to advertise. I mean, it was all word of mouth. It wasn't like it is today. Turn on the television or even the radio, a local channel. Just so many things that are different. It wasn't like that. It was everything person to person, mouth to mouth, and you told someone, and before you knew it, it spread.
They told two friends, and
Well,
they told two
yeah.
friends. And
Well, how come
it
you-
was a different
Well,
world.
how come you joined the Sons of Italy? I met you at a dance and did a dance. I said, why don't you join? You said, okay.
there you
Yeah.
go. Well, you said something, right? You got him to join, and here it is.
He was
you
an
know.
easy recruit. He was interested, yes. He was great.
They were great years too, I'll tell
Yeah.
you. They really were. So many wonderful people, so many wonderful experiences, so many places that we went by bus as
Yeah.
a group and saw different shows. And
And we used to
you
run dinner dances twice a year.
Okay.
And really,
As a social thing or as a
no, this was
fundraiser?
a social thing.
social,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, we would make a few bucks on it, but that wasn't the main
Well,
goal.
yeah.
And it started out with just an orchestra, a little orchestra, and caterer, and all that stuff. And we graduated up to restaurants with full course meals.
Wow.
And the quality orchestra which was Trilogy. I don't know if you heard of them. They were really quality orchestra.
Yeah,
they were our
they were
orchestra for
terrific.
years.
Wow.
And they had a following of dancers that used to go wherever they went, professional dancers.
Okay.
And believe it or not, a lot of our members didn't like them because they'd all sit down and watch them dancing.
Okay.
They couldn't dance like they did. But anyway, they were great. We had them for years.
At
So-
some point, we started with Christmas get-together at
Okay.
the restaurant in Winchester. I never remember the name.
Lucia's.
Lucia's
Restaurant.
in Winchester.
Okay.
That started quite a few years ago, really.
Oh, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Over 20 years ago.
Over 20 years ago, that's our Christmas dinner, and we would open it up and we would have big crowd. Recently, I think the numbers have diminished a little bit,
Yes,
but
they are.
at one point, we would fill up the restaurant, or a good portion of the restaurant, and the meals were terrific. Italian-style dishes and whatnot, you know? How could they be otherwise?
Now,
But
going
anyway.
back to the organization, you know, Sons of Italy, and there's the state, Grand Lodge.
Yes.
And how frequently did you interact either with the Grand Lodge or with some of the other area Sons of Italy chapters?
Actually, the Grand Lodge didn't interact very much.
Okay.
Other than when they were on fundraisers, they would have some of their people come to our meeting.
Oh, okay.
And there's a convention every year we used to go to
Okay.
that I was required to go to.
Okay.
So actually, didn't have an awful lot of it.
Okay. I just wasn't sure, like, how.
However, you were involved
You know,
with them,
Oh.
and I was too.
Yeah, he was involved as a culture part, and I was involved.
Okay.
I was
At the state level.
yes, I
At
was the
state
vice.
level.
Oh,
I was
okay.
the vice chairman of the Commission for Social Justice.
Tell me about the Commission for Social Justice. I was seeing that on the website. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
It's the anti-defamation arm of the Sons of Italy.
Okay.
If you hear of somebody bad-mouthing Italians or using Italian slurs and stuff like that, you make sure they know about they're doing something wrong. And we used to always pick out 3 unique individuals every year, one for general stuff, one for law, and the other was for police,
Okay.
judges and all that stuff.
Okay.
So we would cite 3 people and have a breakfast annual every year. And we had some real quality, top-notch people.
Okay.
Yeah, they're amazing. So that was our involvement with the Grand Lodge.
Okay.
And as far as other adjacent lodges go, at one time I made a deal with one of the Woburn lodges. You back us up, we'll back you up. And the president, we said, yeah, okay. Never materialized.
Never. Oh.
Everybody likes to stay in their own little comfortable niche. And they don't get into culture like we did.
Oh, okay.
They are more into good times. Like the Woburn Lodge, they have a bar there. They're
Okay.
not there anymore, by the way. But the reason they would do so well, people go there and have cheap drinks and play cards and all
Why
that
not?
stuff. So we had a different mission in life. Ours
Okay.
was true to the ideals of the Sons of Italy.
All right. So,
I-
oh, go ahead.
I was the culture chairman for the Grand Lodge,
Okay.
the state. My mission was to find a way to teach, because I had been teaching Italian
For
both in the public schools locally, as well as a little bit for the lodge. It was, I mean, I had been teaching all my life.
right.
So they were aware of that, and they wanted to find a way for me to teach or introduce the language to all the lodges. We could never quite find a way to get me to be able to broadcast to all of the lodges.
Oh, okay.
It was a big problem, and I spent a lot of time trying to find a way to do that. I did teach. I did visit lodges.
Okay.
They were all very much interested, and God, I can remember going to, currently, or at that time, I believe there were 60 lodges across the state.
Yeah, something
Wow.
like that.
Yeah, now I think they're whittled down to maybe, I'm guessing, about 30 or 35 or 40. But at that time, they had lodges in almost every city across the state.
Wow.
So to try and get all of them
On
in
the
a
same
program
page, yeah.
format where I could teach them the language was extremely difficult.
Yeah.
So I visited as many lodges as I could and tried to get the program going. They were very grateful. I spent about a year and a half trying to find a way to do it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking to them and doing what we could. We could never quite break through that so that I could instruct all of them.
Right.
However, I did have some good teaching days to individual lodges,
Excellent.
especially our own.
Well, yeah, it sounds like the language
Yeah.
program was.
Yeah.
Now, with, collaboration, we're kind of talking related to that. at any point, like with your language instruction, or we kind of touched upon you borrowed the library space. Did you collaborate with other organizations? Not other branches, but like totally different organizations, like the public schools, or like the library, or like, Council on Aging, or
Yeah, we had minimal involvement with others. First is the library every year asked us to contribute something for a basket for raffles, and they would, and we used to always have the biggest and the best one.
Ooh.
Oh, really? I know it's bragging, but we did, didn't we?
Had what?
The baskets at the library.
the library
They raffle-
baskets. You
raffle-
guys
yeah.
go big or go home.
Oh,
yeah.
And also my culture series.
Yes.
I had. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And another one was involvement locally was some years ago. We had the Italian kids coming here. We were involved with them.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
sponsored
cool, like
them
an
for a couple
exchange?
of years.
We got the selectmen involved with it.
There were about 25 of them would come in the group and stay
Wow.
here for a few days.
Now for the school year. Oh, just for a few days. Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
and ours would go over there for the same place.
So it was a
exchange
real
program.
exchange.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were involved in that.
Yeah, this was a particular town in northern Italy where went back and forth for I think maybe 4 or 5 years. Their kids came here, and we
Neat.
would, we found homes for them. The selectmen would honor them. They would proclamation that they had
cool.
come. It was really, and our kids, of course, enjoyed their kids, and they would show them around and go to the movies together or go to a
Okay.
dance together. They had dances at the high school here.
So the Italian kids came here and
Right.
spent time with the Burlington kids.
Yes, right.
And then
And
our
then
kids,
the Burlington kids would go back with them?
Yep.
Yes.
No, not with them. They would go at a separate time. Oh,
okay.
Like
But it'd be the same
one
kids, yeah.
year.
But
would
it
be-
wasn't at the same time. It wasn't like
no,
switch
no,
kids
no,
for,
no. It was no, it was 1 year here, and next year we go there, and that went on for
Now,
think
how
about
did you determine which
kids would go.
kids went and how many
I
kids?
don't
and,
remember exactly. I think we went to.
And did they need
I,
to-
I think we huddled with the Italian teachers
Okay.
at some point.
Yeah, we knew they were coming here, and somebody asked for our support in what we did, and
No,
the
but
PAC got
which
involved.
kids did we pick?
I don't know, but I think they picked their
Well,
own.
when the kids came over
Yeah,
here.
some of it had to
okay.
do with availability, the cost. There was always a cost for the,
Oh, yeah.
so if they had the money and they wanted, and as I recall, most of them were really it got to the point where this one would go this time, you can go next time, because we could only send so many kids. They could only accommodate so many. This was
Right.
northern Italy, up close to beautiful area, a wonderful area, Trentino Adige, which is right up close to the mountains in the north of Italy. It was
okay.
it was really
That is a
it
beautiful
was really
area.
quite beautiful. I've been there. It's really really neat.
I'd like to pat ourselves on the back for a couple of
Go
things.
for it.
First of all, I just want to mention we went to the Consul General. They wanted a list of all our students.
Oh,
So I gave them a list.
okay.
They wanted interested to find out where they came from. When they saw all the different towns from all over, that was really what sold our program to them, and why they
Oh,
wanted
wow.
to come and see our class.
Okay.
COVID wiped us out.
Well, yeah.
But we had a website which, well, first of all, 10 years ago, the Grand Lodge looked upon the Burlington Lodge as the leading edge lodge.
Ooh.
So at conventions, I would be called on to stand up and say, tell us your success. How did you do this? Why you got so many
Yeah.
members? That was about 10, 15 years ago. We've
And what was
fallen
your
on-
answer?
Oh, I would tell them, whatever we did,
Okay.
But we were right on top, and everything we did was great. We had a website that, 2 pages on the website. The first had all the information about the school, the
Okay.
classes, general
Okay.
information. If you went to page 2, you could click on any city in Italy and get a guided tour
Oh, wow.
online. Or you would click on a city and it would bring up all the hotels in that city. And you could make your online reservations from
Yeah.
our website.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And we had direct connection to La Stampa and Repubblica, the 2 Italian daily newspapers.
Oh, perfect.
So you could every day get your Italian news, right? Real time.
Wow.
We had recipes on there. Geez,
Yes.
we had, it was,
Anything and everything you could think of that even remotely associated with the Italian culture was.
It was the most
good,
complete
yeah.
website, and the Grand Lodge was very impressed with us.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, they had reason
We
to
were the
be.
#1 lodge in their eyes, and I wish we could go back to that. Times change, people change, unfortunately.
I have to, if I may.
Go for it.
Parenthetically, we had a culture series that I ran, and Don was very supportive of it. And I think I mentioned a little bit of it earlier, but it was extremely extensive. I can show you pages of the professors that had specialties in the Italian culture who came and spoke at the library. And even I remember one, do you remember the woman who was a professional singer? She sang opera. She lived in Lexington. I can't remember her name.
Oh, wow.
But she was a professional, and she did come, and we had an evening where the library was completely, I mean, we couldn't fit another person in there.
Wow.
She sang arias that night, and we, at the very end, we gave her a big bouquet of flowers to thank her. And even the pianist who accompanied her ran a company in Boston where he brought in entertainers. I mean, he was celebrated.
Okay.
The point being that the whole program and all of the other programs in that were just terrific. And we get to the point where we were drawing big audiences from not only from Burlington but from the surrounding communities.
Wow.
It was very successful. Everything we did was successful. We just ran out of time.
It sure was, and one.
Except for your recruitment events.
That's right. And as a result of all these things
They were
we
great
accomplished,
events, but
and the reputation we had within the Grand Lodge, I was the one that got all the credit for it because I'm the president of that lodge. Pat did all the work, but I didn't.
but you were good at delegating.
Well, I was
No,
happy.
that's not true. We both did. I was well known for getting on in my vehicle and putting posters up all around the towns around to tell them about the next program, whatever it happened.
If we had
to
a
be
wine
that we would-
tasting going, I'd make flyers up, and Pat would go and post them all around town.
I love it.
We were a two-man show there for quite a while. And
Yeah, we really.
Now, in theory, did you have other help, or was it really just the two of you?
minimal.
Minimal. I think that's the correct word. In-house, they were willing to help. There were times when I think of the Christmas programs, you know, people coming in and bringing things that we contributed to a needy family here. Everyone got involved in
One
it.
especially I remember is for the Iraqi guys out in Iraq.
Oh, yeah.
They needed things like foot powder, soap.
Oh, yeah. We
overwhelmed them with hygienic products.
Wow.
Yeah. There was an awful lot of.
It's a lot of cooperation.
yeah.
And
I mean, people that were brought in, people that we met, not only in the Italian community. We went to the. My wife, I remember, when she was a member, to one of the old age homes in Boston. I can't remember which one, but you know, we did a program with them. We brought things in. We went in and spent the day with them. It just got extensive in so many different ways. The goal was to help the community. The goal was to get some sort of success in what we were doing for the community. We wanted to do it well. You know, as I think back over the Christmas years and the amount of goods that we put together that would be, at St. Margaret's in particular, the altar would be loaded with packages. And those would go out to needy families in Burlington.
excuse me a minute, but aside from needy families, we also adopted the New England chapter of homeless veterans as our personal. So we send them $200 every Christmas time for that. And we also have a $1,000 a year scholarship at the high school.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And
That
Pat-
goes
tell me more
back
about
to
that.
the beginning.
And Pat showed
52
me
years, wow.
the original order, how that happened. I didn't realize this. It says right at the very end.
Yeah, this is the document that authorizes that.
In the very last sentence says that, well, if something happen, the lodge go under all that all the funds from savings or the entire treasury and savings balance at the time of disinvolvement will go to the Burlington Sons of Italy Scholarship Fund. So any money we have left over
Okay.
No matter what we have, it goes to them too.
We had a scholarship fund from inception, from 1995. You also personally funded a scholarship
Yes.
through them. So the high school here gained, in terms of 2 scholarships for many years from the Sons of Italy. Yeah.
Okay. So does the high school like manage? Is there somebody at the
They
high school
manage
that
the money.
manages the
They
Yes,
have
fund?
an
we
account.
had,
Okay.
yeah, one of the teachers.
In fact, a month ago, we sent them another $1,000. They were close to the threshold. They were
Oh wow.
might not make it this year, so that'll get them up over this year until
Excellent.
next year.
So how do they determine who
That's
receives
it.
the scholarship?
The teacher, I think, the gentleman that we had for a long while, in huddle with some of the teachers, they would pick out one particular candidate, usually from the Italian classes, if possible. If not,
Well, now what it is that Joe Adobato is the man who.
oh yeah, Joe.
He's the one that kids know what scholarships are available when they apply for them. And this is, if you got an Italian blood in you, any member of your family belong to the Sons of Italy, you're eligible to apply.
Oh, okay.
And every now and then he comes up with somebody that he doesn't have the right qualifications. Can't find anybody that year. Says, you pick it, Joe. And he always, every choice he's ever made is outstanding.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I would like to say that I recently contacted one of the selectmen here in
Yep.
town.
I was just about to ask you about that.
The intent being, we are 52 years old in Burlington. We are the second oldest, next
I
to the
wish I was
American
only
Legion
52 years old.
Wow.
organization in Burlington. And I don't know if they have, and I did speak to one of the selectmen,
Okay.
and he was almost ecstatic and
Cool.
said that he would introduce it to the rest of them. And I plan on meeting with him to see if
Now let's back up a little
hopefully
bit.
they
What are you
accept it.
introducing to them?
Pardon me?
What are, I want to back up. What are you introducing to the select board?
Pretty much what we've done, how long we've been in Burlington, what good we have done for the general public, not just the Italian community, but for all of the community. And this one sentence in this thing that I wrote always comes back to haunt me, and that is that when I name the number of people who worked for, especially the selectmen, but others as well, it's a long list of Italian names who worked for Burlington. They were selectmen, they were policemen, they were whatever, and they, through the years, it turned out to be quite a number of different individuals. And the names are very, very easily recognized. If you've been to Burlington for a few years, you'll remember the names of these people. And I think based on that, the organization probably deserves a little bit of recognition as to whether that is possible and reasonable with regard to the selectmen. We will find out. It will be introduced, and whether they can act on it or not, I don't know. We hope they can.
Oh,
We would like to
excellent.
be remembered. Between the two of us, Don and I, and a lot of the members, we've done an enormous amount of work in terms of benefiting the community, Burlington in particular, in so
absolutely.
many different ways. And I'm not talking about just teaching the language. I'm talking about helping people in so many
All the
different
Christmas
ways.
events
Members
and
who
the military.
speakers, the police who came in
Yeah.
and told us about
Polenta.
safety and just everything and anything. Involvement,
Right.
complete involvement with the town as it grew, and it's a good feeling.
And it
It's
has
a good feeling.
grown
It
a
really
lot.
is.
Over the years, I tried to get Pat to run for president so I could step down. He wouldn't do it.
Oh, okay.
He says, no, you stay there.
Well, you were doing a good job.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I did step down twice because I finally found somebody to take it over because I get tired sometimes.
Well, yeah. It's a
And
big job.
The guy that took over, I won't mention his name. I'm not going to badmouth him. He tried to do a good job, and where he works, he gets assigned second shift, so he had to let it go.
Oh, okay.
Then a year later, I found somebody else. About 3 or 4 months into it, he got projects at work he couldn't get out of. So each time they step down, I'm back in the.
You just set the bar so high.
And I had to one guy who passed on some years ago. He was being groomed to be
Yeah.
president.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I said, Jack, let's you and I go for coffee. We'll talk about what my duties are. And I brought a list of things I do.
Yeah.
He looked at the list, he gave back, he said, no way. I'm going to. He said, I
Yeah,
don't get that. You know, people don't realize the
No,
work
but
that
Pat
You
does
had
it
to
all.
invite him for coffee. It's your fault.
But people don't realize
no,
how much
next
work that
time,
goes into
not-
both of us.
Yeah.
You,
no,
you
there-
got to have some wine.
Yes.
Well, I was at Panera, we're having
No,
the coffee.
it was a lot of work. It really was. There were many times when I really didn't, especially in distributing posters for different events that we were going to have.
Here's another reason why it was so much work for me. I had one woman, she was always making suggestions, things like that. One night she came up with a suggestion for the lodge, and I said, you know who I mean.
Yeah.
And I said, that's a wonderful idea. Why don't you run with it? She said, oh, I didn't mean me, I mean for you. And
Yes.
that was the
Yeah.
attitude of the lodge.
Okay, I guess that didn't happen.
You know, parenthetically, with regard to membership, we've had some wonderful members who have contributed.
Yeah.
Lola, for example, has been there for a long time
Yep.
and been very. And I mean, there's probably about a good 6 or 8 families where the individuals are involved. The 2 sisters, I can't think of their name. They've been there for
Yep.
forever. You know, they just helped. They came up with ideas. They volunteered for things that they could do. They participated when we suggested something for recreation.
Oh, great.
Many bus rides
supports,
to different
yeah.
venues.
wow.
If they had an Italian kind of atmosphere about them, that was fine. If they didn't, there were so many things that we went to that there were dinner shows and just restaurants. I think we mentioned, I'm not sure, but every Christmas we go to
Lucia's.
Winchester.
Lucia's.
Lucia's, and they put out a wonderful
Oh,
meal.
wow.
And we end up with 50, 60 people. This year I don't think it was quite that
No,
many,
no.
but in the past it's been pretty steady. And people who have heard about it and want to come. You know, they're not necessarily members.
Okay.
The meal that they put out is terrific.
Excellent.
Even the wine is good.
What's the sad part of this whole story is we've lost so many of them just to
because,
pass on.
because hey, the years go by.
Yep, they sure
Well,
do.
you had a good run,
We
and
did.
it looks like the working with the select board is sounding
And the
pretty
Grand
promising.
Lodge is very, very upset that we're shutting down
Oh,
because they say we can't do without some of the things that we did, like the Italian language classes.
Yeah.
No one else does that.
well, somebody else is going to have to start.
Have you
Nobody will.
mentioned that
But-
they have decided that they are still going to visit us? The Grand Lodge president wants it because she's so dismayed that we decided to stop. She's coming and she's going to insist on us continuing. But
Well, that's going to have to be a sequel because we are out of time.
yes,
So-
Good time to break.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed hearing your stories and hearing
I'm
how
surprised
much
the hour went so
impact.
fast.
I know.
You said
But
that.
I do want to thank everyone at home as well for tuning in this evening. I hope that you've enjoyed our conversation as well. And I guess that you guys, there's nothing more to say. So have a wonderful evening. Good night, and I'll see you around town.
Buonanotte.